And welcome to the Red Room. Our guest today
Again,
is. Okay, I'm not going to try to pronounce it again. I give up. You say.
Andrej Ciric.
Andrej Ciric.
Very bad.
I
That's
think
right, yeah.
I think I was better.
Thank you, Celia.
I did it better the first time. So we had some connection issues, so we had to restart this. So we are restarting the conversation, but I'm going to ask the same question because it wasn't recorded, of course. So
It was recorded, but it is not a usable recording. It's a deja vu.
So you are our first guest from Serbia, and my first question to you would be to explain a bit about how role-playing games. There is many people playing them. If there are conventions, stores where people go and play, that kind of thing. Even if there are some Serbian role-playing games as well.
I guess it's about as popular as any other place in Europe, give or take. And we had this kind of a huge influx of Russian refugees. Well, they're not refugees; they're like migrants, more or less. When the war started in Ukraine, a lot of them went over here. I guess in lesser part to escape the war itself, but many of them were working in IT industries and creative industries and all these things. So their firms relocated so they could do business from Belgrade, as we were, I think, the only country in Europe that allowed them actually to do so. So about 200,000 Russians and some Ukrainians also came over here, and they create a whole culture in itself. Like when you have this, it always happens when you have this kind of a large number or large influx of people from the same cultural background coming at the same time. They create their own parallel cultures. So they kind of they were actually the first ones who created this first convention in Belgrade, which is paradoxical, because a large number of them came with their own TTRPG experiences from Russia and Ukraine, and because they're closed circle, and many of them actually, to be honest, do try to integrate in society, learn language and all these things, but they usually keep to themselves when mingling. So they actually created their own event, which was the first one convention in Belgrade ever, which was, I think, 3 days long and like a well organized, like a huge affair, which nobody here from us locals heard anything about, which is a totally bizarre thing. But actually, we do have like traditionally there's some gaming clubs who organize the free RPG day. So this is like in motion for I think 20 years or so, but it's not a proper convention. It's something just event happening. Uh, People do play sometimes in they're like a pubs who cater to this kind of games. Couple of them. No dedicated store as such. There is one place which sells books, but it's kind of a very small in their what is available from them. And actually, I guess it's in many places in Europe kind of a similar situation. People here, our experience, social experience of playing RPG, is very different than American one, which dominates the hobby. Like here, people tend to play in person with friends, not with random people online, which completely changes the whole social dynamic of the thing, because it's a social event. You play with people that you know, and or they're friends of a friend, so it kind of all establishes a certain like goodwill, so to speak, and like it's very different. And you have if you're in it, you have a number of people that you know of, so you know who likes what, and you don't really have to cater to the lowest common denominator. You can pick and choose people for different games who are like who like you in turn or who like what you're offering, and like it's very very different. And we always play at homes. And you think mostly it's students or people who, for example, have small children at home, so it's kind of a problematic because of it, tend to play in pubs. Most of us play at homes, which again is very different environment than playing online or in like large venues or things like that. So it's kind of very different in this regard. Also, people tend to form stable groups for a number of years. Well, maybe not groups, but kind of circles of players. Because unless somebody emigrates abroad, I mean, you are here. You don't change cities that much. So, like, if you're from Belgrade or from Novi Sad, you are probably going to live up until the end of your life in this city, unless you emigrate. And unlike in America, where people change cities every couple of years, so it kind of functions very differently in this regard.
We used to play only the same. It's always at home with a similar group until the lockdowns. That's when we started playing online, and then we had to change that forever because our players now are mostly American. So at least half of the players are American. So obviously there's no way to play with local gamers, and I don't think we would find many as well, for reasons that are really.
But you're also not playing with random people. But I think it's also changed because, I mean, in the past, I think even in the States, people used to do that, right? But then came that habit of playing online and doing that. And we know a lot of stories of people that are just playing with from the States that we play with. They're playing on games with people that they don't know. And for me, it's almost as weird as having someone that you don't know at your house or playing in a convention. I always thought it was strange, like going to a... Here for a long time I didn't play because I didn't have nobody to play with, and I thought just going to a store or just play with people I don't know. I just thought it was a bit strange. It's like, I don't know these people, I'm just going to play role playing with. So for me, for the even online, it is the same. It's a bit weird. How do you know you're gonna like to play with those people, right?
I think that this American culture of playing with random people actually creates a lot of the ills in the hobby itself. Because when you have such a diverse bunch of people coming from all sorts of backgrounds, this kind of creates a tension, and people need to kind of level the field so they could operate in it. Which, when you play with people that you know personally, even if you tend to disagree about politics or whatever, there is basic goodwill because you're friends, or at least you know each other, so you're civil to each other, and like all these issues about like establishing the boundaries are like superfluous. You're just behaving normally as you would with like normal people. And this is, I think, American problem, which kind of tends to spill over to other places of the world.
Yeah, in this kind of hobby, because Americans are the largest amount of players, everything that happens there eventually goes everywhere else. So the fact that the first convention in Serbia was organized by Russians, does that mean that role-playing games are more popular in Russia, or it's just because it's a bigger country, so there are obviously more players?
Well, obviously more players. I mean, out of this, I guess it's about 150,000 Russians living in Belgrade right now, and almost 10% of the population. And out of them, you probably have a large number of people who are actually into, because these are usually younger to middle-aged people. So those who are in this kind of age bracket, and they all grew up in playing games or computer games or whatever. And from what I've seen, even something which is very unusual, like they play a lot of Call of Cthulhu games, for example. Like this is obviously quite popular on the Warhammer, and I think this is more European kind of shifted, European games or European-like games with European sensibilities, which are more accessible there. And it's been curious for me because I know that in Russia and Ukraine, obviously, I mean, they take it as a single cultural space. The thing is that they don't really publish their own books, which is bizarre to me because they're huge. Like, I mean, taken together, it's more than 200 million people with the same like language, shared cultural space. And for some reason, they are not actually publishing books. There are a couple of small-scale Ukrainian operations which publish in English, but they're like almost marginal. And there's a lot of translations, I think mostly pirated ones in Russian, but still, considering the amount of people who are especially in creative industries, you would like expect that they have indigenous RPG industry, but for some reason it doesn't really work. I mean, we are a small population. We have in total, language space, maybe 10 million people. So it's kind of works differently, and it's not like we don't have actually any. I have to correct myself. There was one effort to make an RPG in Serbian, original one, and it was like, do you know, like the title, the worst RPG book ever, The Fatal?
Yeah.
This was something similar to it.
Congratulations.
The controversial part
Yeah.
or just the extremely boring rules part of it? Which one? Or both?
This went the full circle. It was so detailed that actually it became like a kitsch. It became a quality in itself. So the guy who was writing it was, I mean, he's a good guy, but you know, he was so into it that, and obviously without any kind of experience of writing rules in itself, that he made some ridiculous like rules tables and all these things. So it kind of for a number of years it became like almost a meme thing in our community. But still, it was an effort which I applaud. I mean, sitting down writing anything is like a, you know, I have to respect this. But it was never officially published. It was like circulated as a PDF, you know, among the fans. So it's in a category of the Fatal. And we don't, I mean, I guess I have this project of mine personally that, but it's kind of a long game. I think that once I finish some other things in life generally, like maybe sometimes when I was going to be in 1950s, like in 50s years, like maybe 55, 60 years of age, when I finish everything else I need to do, then I will sit down and reread all the books I need for this and write up like a proper Balkan Slavic, South Slavic folkloric / historical RPG. But this is like a mammoth task to do it properly. It's probably going to be my personal life achievements. This is why I'm taking time, and this is like why I want to do it like in a proper academic way. So like without any bizarre idiosyncrasies. I want to do it with respectful manners. So not now, in maybe 10 years or so.
Will you use your own system or something already?
What I currently have in mind is probably some iteration of the BRP. Something which is rules light, intuitive, and opens up a space for like a small rules to kind of give it a flavor, but without overbearing it. And this kind of, because I want this project, once I realize it, to be like open for the newcomers and for the general public, so they could more easily absorb it. So no bizarre rules, no anything like which requires any pre-understanding of the whole, you know, mechanical thing, how the ways mechanics are resolved in TTRPGs. So I want to keep it intuitive. But this is, as I said, long game. It's not anywhere near.
I think an issue that sometimes when a lot of people that try to create their own game, there's only so much variation of the rules that you can actually come up with, because it's mathematics. And I think sometimes the problem is they spend so many time trying to create something completely different that maybe the game gets weakened because or it's too complex or it's too different. And then it's hard for people to, so I think this, of course, you need to have your own thing, even a part of the mechanics, but for me, the setting is what really makes that game more unique, and not that, oh, you created your own rules, because you can only innovate so much.
Absolutely, yes, I fully agree, yeah.
People end up worrying more about the system than the setting, but yeah, I'm all for the setting. The rules, they are needed, and they should be solid, but the setting is what makes it different.
Yeah, I have this personal byword of mine, not kind of a riff on the, you know, famous rules matters, like a setting matters.
Yes,
it's the setting which draws us into games, not mechanical rules. Like, who cares about them?
Exactly. I think most people don't agree. At least in my experience.
I don't think most people agree, yeah, but when we were talking yesterday, you mentioned that you almost published something in the past, but it didn't happen. By the way, you could just summarize it, maybe, how it happened, or what it was supposed to be.
A couple of years ago, a good friend of mine was working on a project that he was writing a comic book, but he was aiming for the financiers to expand this comic book into a computer game. And he wanted also, because he's also a TTRPG player, he wanted to also publish a book, like as a companion to the comic book. And essentially, this whole thing was supposed to be like the most elaborate, expensive, like PR campaign to get funding for the computer game, which would be like a proper big project. So I sit down and write original rule sets for this. I was about halfway through where our funding dried up, and most of it is still. I mean, I guess one day I will probably finish it because I have this kind of a personal issue that I don't like to leave things unfinished in my life. They always bother me. Like I never properly learned German language, although I learned it in school. This is one of the things I will have to do by the end of my life to like sit down and properly learn it. So this is one of these things, but it was the thing was about kind of a psychedelic post cyberpunk setting, which was unusual take on the cyberpunk because it was supposed to happen in this kind of not like a near future, but more like a mid future. And this is like this mid future is always the worst possible science fiction settings out of all, because near future is easy to extrapolate. The long future is like whatever. Yeah. I mean, you can, it's an empty canvas. But this mid future, say this was supposed to happen in 22nd century, this is the worst because it's not far enough so you can go wild with it. And it's kind of close enough that you have to project your own, like, cultural or technical expectations. So, but the whole point of it was to go sideways from this thing and to go into psychedelics and this kind of a Jungian mythology, which would kind of try to manifest in itself in this kind of environment. And we try to kind of evade these classical tropes of the TTRPGs. We have, I don't know, Lovecraftian monstrosities and things like that, and to do something a little bit different. So the whole setting it's a bit new agey, I guess, but I try to keep it more gritty because the whole setting had this grittiness to it. And unfortunately, the thing was that it was also partially funded by NFT craze of the time. Mm-hmm. And when this imploded, like our funding dried out, and but again, probably one day I'll get it finished.
Obviously,
there's a interestingly there's a
of course.
Sorry,
the computer game was never finished as well, right?
No. It never reached the funding stage, but at least the good part of the comic book is finished. So there's a lot of illustrations I can draw from that to illustrate the actual original artworks. Yeah. So
yeah, having illustrations is always good. Having to commission them from the beginning is always a problem. Timing and expenses and all that.
Yeah, have you seen the news about the Chaosium having problem with the eye?
Yeah, the
other day
they were saying something about a quick start that was released or something like that, right? It had some AI stuff. So
I have this more paradoxical take to it. I mean, and I'm sure you're going to appreciate this, that if you're a small-time publisher, you operate under different propositions than if you're a proper big publisher. So all this talk about ban the AI and all these things, I mean, yeah, in ideal world I would agree with this, but if the only way of getting things published is by using AI, and the alternative is not getting it published, well, yeah. Or if you're just publishing text without any illustrations because you cannot fund them, I would rather have AI illustrations than no illustrations at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, illustrations make the books more appealing, and also sometimes it's needed some kind of visual to give you an idea.
And it isn't as easy as people think, right, Miguel? And in order to get the right images, there's a lot of work. So, some people go there and
my latest books have no AI in it. Not because I changed my mind about it, but partly because I know that having AI is always a problem. People won't review it. People will probably complain about it and all that. But at the same time, I was getting a little bit annoyed of using AI It's not as fast as people think, and to do something proper, you have to waste a long time, and you have to write the prompts and then change it and then correct the images because there are some stuff there that shouldn't be, not texture fingers anymore, but the clothes and the background. There's always something wrong with it, so it takes more than it should, than people think, and not it should. It takes more time than people think it takes, and it's kind of boring after a time. So that's why I stopped using it, not entirely, but at least for the biggest projects, I'm not using it anymore. I'm just using, if I cannot find the public domain, I will use commissioned art, but I'm trying to, obviously, because we can't sell that much. Lately, I'm planning to do more stuff where I can find public domain art or cheap art I can buy for it. And obviously,
No, but people tend to forget that a lot of the filler illustrations traditionally in RPG books are just bad.
Yeah,
they're not evocative, and they're technically bad, and they look, they're very often more of a hindrance to imagination than actually they're helping out. So I have no problem AI replacing those. Like on a personal level, I don't have a problem because those are probably poorly paid people who are just entering into illustrations. Now, this creates a different problem about those people who have to learn their craft, and how are they going to learn the craft if not by doing such works? But this is like their own educational problem. It's not something which should be burden of the publisher personally. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so proceed. I will ask the question.
And when you open up a random, I mean, I don't play D&D, but if you open up a random D&D book and see how they are being illustrated, it's just terrible.
Yeah,
it's just like a slop which doesn't really look any different qualitatively wise than the AI kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like poorly made AI, actually.
And also something that I've said a lot of times when we go to these discussions, I don't say it anymore because, I mean, when we talk about art, we are talking about illustrations. We are not in books, right? Most of it are not really art, it's illustrations. Saying that it's not art, it's just illustrations, doesn't diminish it. It's just like not all films are art, right? Not all music is art. Not all drawings are art, even if they use that word in English. In Portuguese, we call it illustrations.
Yes,
and art is something else.
When we say art, we mean really art. Not, you don't usually use the word for something that you use on a common book or something like that, unless you are using, of course, real art. But yeah, that's art is for fine arts. Illustration is a craft.
Yeah, same thing here. I mean, even we have like this fine arts academy where proper painting is being, like traditional painting is being taught, and then we have like applied arts which have book illustrations as it's one of its courses. So kind of there is a difference, definitely. Yeah. And personally, I like illustrations. I like quality illustrations. There is a whole lot of skill in it, and it's very important for creating atmosphere in books. But so much of this human-made, like art, is so bad that I don't really see being taken away. The only thing is that some people get less money, but then again, a lot of people working for the big publishers, from what I heard, they're not getting paid all that much. So
yeah, it's true. That's a reason to use AI, definitely.
I guess the best solution is probably to use something like crowdfund to get proper illustrations being done, and then people can decide if they want to support this kind of artistic style in future books or not. So this is the way I would go if I would be in resolving things.
But I get the impression when people do that, they end up, the crowdfunding is just to pay for the art, which for me it's also a bit ridiculous.
Being the the most expensive thing in a role-playing game if you are using commissioned art. It definitely, unless you are paying as well for the layout, but the layout wouldn't be as much as the old illustrations. So that, yeah.
Yeah, and also I think there's this. You're correct. There's this intrinsic underappreciation of the writers. Because writing is actually like a really difficult thing to do, and like it takes a lot of time. It takes at least as much time as painting, like a illustration, and probably much more, especially if you're also involved in the formatting process and preparing for publishing and everything else. So people tend to gloss over all these things.
Yeah, and in the end, it's the most important thing in the book. It's not a comic book; it's a role-playing game. So the text is what you really need. The illustrations are very useful, but they are not the most important thing in a role-playing game.
Personally, they're very important for me, and I have to make a confession that in many cases I've been buying books, like physical books, mostly on their visual impact they make.
I've done that.
I mean,
I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. There's one
Almost
I've never read it. I've never played it. It's called the Genesis. I bought everything just because it looked amazing. The art is amazing.
No, we cannot see it from here.
No, it's
The part of the
on the
books
other
here
side,
are role-playing books, but no,
yeah,
I was
it's on the
checking.
other side. But yeah, it's they look amazing.
I have it too. It's the slipcase, right?
Yeah.
2 books.
Yes.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful books. Like, but it's a cool setting also, and I'm planning to one day to probably run it. So
I've never even read. I started, but there's lots of content there, and when I started making my own games, I just decided, okay, I don't have time for this. This is too much setting for me to be reading and learning now. So just never mind that. We have other stuff to do.
well, so many games to play, so little time.
Yeah, and we have about 2 weekly games, but both of them, at least right now, both of them are our games. So we have no time for other stuff.
I guess you have to play test everything in person.
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's hard to find time to play other things. So in the end,
Well, we did play Cult.
we did play Cult.
Not that long ago, we played an entire campaign.
But we were invited
Yes.
by Game Master, so we decided to go. And my opinion, the Game Master is a good Game Master, but my opinion about the game is more or less the same. Though we were playing an old scenario, which was, I think it was published in English for the first time, The Black Madonna. It was a famous one, but I think it was only available in Swedish, and then they translated it recently for the new version of Cult.
it is terrible.
Yeah. What happened to Cult really, it was as we
No.
saying before.
This scenario particularly is terrible because it was actually written as a scenario for some spy game, which the authors were like, and then it was rewritten for the horror, and it's just terrible. And because I was a huge fan of, I still are, but back in 1990s, it was like a really transformative experience, being introduced into this whole thing. And I was always wondering, I'm not the only one, several of us, we were wondering, like, the Black Madonna is the only one of those original books from Swedish that hadn't been translated to the British language, English language. And so kind of we were like it became almost a mythical thing, what to expect out of it, and when it finally got published for a new edition, and from what I understand, it hasn't been hugely like a meddled with. It's more or less the same adventure. It was just so bad. I played it, a friend of mine ran it, and we went through it till the end, but it was like, and he was running it fine. Nothing wrong with him, but it was just the adventure is kind of a collection. You can see that this translation from the spy action genre to horror is just like terrible. And what is curious for me is that all those various ideological tropes which I guess West Europeans have about Eastern Europe and Soviet Union and Russia, all of them kind of are nested in this, and it's kind of there's very peculiar like a imaginarium of how it's supposed to act. You know, it kind of totally breaks any kind of a suspension of disbelief, because like come on, have you guys ever went and traveled to Russia in 1990s, you know, before writing this?
I found, well, obviously that's not my main problem with
But it feels like a cliche, but because we don't know the realism, obviously it feels like, and we played it as a cliche, because also our group, when we are playing something like that, we always run into the cliche. If we don't know the reality, even when it's playing things in Portugal, we sometimes play it as a cliche, but that's because we think it's funny.
Yes. With things taking place in Portugal, we cannot take it seriously. There is no tradition of horror or fantasy or even murder mysteries in Portuguese literature or movies. Portuguese movies are mostly comedies. Portuguese literature is either drama or comedy as well, so it's very hard to take something seriously if it's taking place in Portugal. You have to turn it into a comedy, or otherwise it will feel wrong. But I have another problem with cult things, cult scenarios. They're all very railroady. There are predetermined events, and you feel like you are going through a script, basically. It happened with most of those. I ran almost all of the published scenarios or campaigns, and I don't think there was any one of those that wasn't terribly scripted. Of course, we can always try to avoid that as a game master, but if it's done like that, there's not much.
I don't have that much of an issue with the railroading, because in my experience, most players, again, maybe it's a cultural thing, but most players from my environment don't really like the open space. And one time I was actually genuinely running a open world where they could do anything. It just fell apart because they were paralyzed by the possibilities, and they didn't really know what to do with all this. And my experience, players don't usually have an issue if the railroad is preserving this this kind of a veneer of free choice, at least to the extent. And this is a little bit of a skill for the game master to implement. Then again, a lot of the books and movies are about people who are forced into making bad decisions one after another. So it's kind of a trope in itself, which is functioning okay. I ran, for example, a Taroticum, which it's a well-written adventure. It is, as you said, it is railroady, but it's so atmospheric and so intense that it was a really successful.
I'm not sure if I ran that one. I read it.
I don't think, well, for me you didn't, but I know you ran things before.
I don't think so. No, but I read Eroticon, but I didn't run it. I ran Fallen Angels, and I ran a couple of Spanish.
The Grail.
The Judas Grail.
Judas Grail.
I don't know. I know that was translated to English, in second edition, and something else. I don't remember the other one. But all of those were railroady. Well, maybe not totally Fallen Angels, because Fallen Angels was a mixture of a campaign, but also a campaign setting, which was New York in the late 90s or mid 90s. So there was some disguised, open-ended setting in that one. Though there were predetermined events, of course. But that one was probably the best one, from my perspective, of course. They have made, but maybe Taroticon was a better adventure.
No, Taroticum is very railroady, but it's well written, and you kind of if you know the cultural background of the London of late 1980s and 90s, you can kind of lean into it for the full effect, and if all the players also know it, even better. So it's kind of it has a little bit more of the urban fantasy than horror, but in a good way. I mean, because in the newest edition they leaned into this more urban fantasy thing, but not in a good way.
Yeah,
as far I'm concerned.
Yeah.
We also ran some of the one. We also played one or two of the one-shot sessions for the new version, and they were also even worse. They were railroady and boring.
Boring, extremely boring, yeah, and badly made. The people who are now working on that game, I don't think they. And so, I think it's also the fact that lately, and about what 6, 7, 10 years ago, the wrong kind of people were attracted into role-playing games, and especially horror. Horror was very much damaged by that. People don't really like role-playing games, started playing role-playing games when they became popular, more popular, and the wrong crowd ruined everything.
I think that for many people it became like a political astroturfing ground, and they're not really there for the games itself. Exactly. I mean, this is nothing original. Maybe we all know this, but for the crowd that is behind the new edition of the cult, I have a particular beef with them, which is unrelated to this topic, because once they were announced that they're going to publish it, they forced the closure of the website. What was it called? There was a fun website which lasted for 20 years. They were essentially keeping the whole community of cults alive.
They published a series of fan-made...
Cannot of, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I remember that. The last cycle, was that the name of it?
Yes, yes, and it was brilliant, and there was like a real genuine creative energy there. You could talk to people who were like well versed in the lore. There were good content being made, and they essentially shut them down to clear the space for the new edition, which is kind of a pretty dick move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but weren't there some of the people involved in the last cycle that were also doing the new game, writing for the new game? I'm not entirely sure, but I have kind of the feeling that maybe some of them. Yeah, maybe some of them, but still, I mean, it's the old edition fan base, so kind of why do it? So other horror games, except Cult, what other horror games you like and have played and Game Master?
So many. I mean, I also one other role-playing game. I mean, obviously, it shows my age. Was The Vampire. I mean, I remember back, it was 1990, 3 or 4, maybe. I loaned a book it was actually the first edition of The Vampire from a friend who bought from abroad. And
is the one that there's no rules, right? Or do you mean the one with the rules?
There were rules, but it's different in tone than the second edition, which I bought a bit later. But it was so gorgeous book, and it was so evocative, and like it kind of took this whole approach very differently. And I mean, you could argue if Vampire is actually a horror game.
Yeah,
I would argue.
But you can play this, or it depends of how you play the game, right? How you storytell the game.
Exactly. I mean, I would argue that in its intention, it is a horror game, but the way many people played it, it's not even urban fantasy. It's more like superheroes with fangs in many cases. And I think that White Wolf is responsible for this, because they intentionally geared it in that direction by the late 1990s. So
yeah, all those source books being published with the new powers and this and that, it ends up turning things into a super vampire game.
Yeah, and obviously Call of Cthulhu, I mean, this is like a classic, and like a friend who says that Cthulhu is like a mayonnaise, it goes with anything.
So which game did you start with when you started the role-playing games?
The very first game I played was D&D, but it was only one session, and it was AD&D actually. It was like this period. Then I very soon leaned into Warhammer, and I mean Warhammer still to this day. So it's kind of a, but my personal sensibilities were mostly geared towards horror, occult, and weird games, which are not really like they're offshoots from the mainstream. And for example, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Nephilim, Chaos in the Nephilim.
That is a very very 90s one, right? It disappeared after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I never ran it, but I'm still huge fan of the effort which was put into it. And you would really have to approach it with a tremendous amount of preparation to like a properly run such a game in order to do its proper service. So it's kind of always turn off to the extent. It's easy to lay out a dungeon or a couple of encounters and these things, but here you have to have a deep understanding of history, of the philosophical and occult ideas, like a proper, not like a comic book versions, and to kind of mold it into all this and to create the backstories and different connections. It's almost like writing conspiracy theory in itself just to get the game running.
Mm-hmm. I never played that one. I obviously know it. It was kind of famous at the time, but I never ran it. So what else? Conspiracy X? Were you a fan of that one?
I read it back in the day, but I never played it, and for some reason it was never popular. I mean, I think nobody actually played it here. The book was in circulation, but I don't know. I guess it's again 1990s, but different tonnage to it. Right now, I'm running. It's written for Cairn, but I'm running it with the Call of Cthulhu rules. Beyond the Pale.
Beyond the Pale. I know that name, but I'm not.
It's like a standalone book, which is written as a kind of a folk horror thing, like adventure. It's not like a full game, which takes place in kind of a imaginative, fantastical Ashkenazi, like environment in what is. It's never stated explicitly, but it is like a Tsarist Russia in, say, the 18th, 19th century, which I think that it is written by the same guy, what's it called, Gil something, who also wrote Cairn. But I have a beef with this because Cairn is OSR, and it doesn't really function as a proper horror game. And this is very explicitly having this horror, folkloric, but still horror undertones. And I had to kind of translate it into, luckily it was not a big issue, to Call of Cthulhu. But, and again, it's kind of an issue that people tend to put too much of everything into such scenarios. I wouldn't call myself a minimalist, but I kind of tend to go with this more subtle approach, that you don't really have to have all those different things happening like all over the place, 5 different monsters, complex conspiracies and all these things. It's difficult for players to concentrate on this, and it's just too much. It's like do the one thing, the one plot line, maybe one smaller on the side, and that is enough. That is enough to keep players engaged and to keep the story like coherent without overburdening them and like introducing all those sorts of things. But still, it's kind of it has this interesting undertone. For me, it was like an interesting choice because I'm not really all that versed in the Ashkenazi culture. I know the history of the place, and I read Solzhenitsyn and all these things, but it was kind of a microculture nested within broader Slavic/East European cultures of the era, very much influenced by this, but still its own thing. And it's kind of an isolated world within itself, which kind of creates interesting space for exploration for me personally as a game master to get invested in it.
Since you mentioned Vampire, have you tried the latest iteration, Vampire 5th edition?
No. I read the rules, and honestly, didn't bring all that much new to the table. They have this like interesting hunger, like a mechanic, which is cool, but maybe some small other things. But this is something almost you could port to any other edition of Vampire as a house rule. It's not worth bothering to buy the entire book just for those things. and the artwork solutions were not to my liking, and the whole the whole narrative which was created around it was off-putting, to say the least. And you know what I'm talking about. So
the famous controversies.
Miguel bought it as a gift for me. I was supposed to run it, but then nah.
We tried it once. It didn't.
Yes, we did, but it was just the initial. But when I started reading the alteration of the setting, I started to be annoyed.
I actually
every vampire is a social justice warrior, or not at all.
And to you,
I mean, vampire as a setting has many problems, and I guess it's probably one of its good sides because people can choose which of those problems they will ignore and which ones they will problematize. On the other hand, the whole way they reinterpreted the events after the Second Inquisition and all this, not really. It's not to my liking. And I guess, I mean, I was curious about this announcements about the newest edition for this year or whenever it's going to
be released. Yeah. I mean, Vampire 6th edition, or
I guess so. Yeah, they're avoiding the 6th edition as a numbering, but it probably is going to be. It's like too soon. Like the 5th edition came out in 2019, right? Or 20? I think it's 19th.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, so it's kind of not even a full decade, which for Vampire at least it's kind of I don't know.
Are they doing the whole World of Darkness now, in new versions, or just Vampire?
I don't know. I haven't read I read the new Mage, which was decent. Different take, but it was like okay. I wouldn't run it personally, but it was okay. Werewolf was always terrible, and the whole game needs to be completely rewritten from the ground up without any connections to anything. It's just terrible. Changeling is okay. I mean, I like the new darker approach to it. And I don't know what else came out in the newest iteration.
I don't know. The only one I saw, I know that they did something else, but the only one I know is Vampire 5. The other ones I just ignore them.
Actually, probably the Changeling is most successful in this new iteration. I really like it. Never got around to play it, but it has an interesting reapproach to the topic, while everything else is just more of the same, more or less.
So what are you running now?
I'm running this Beyond the Pale. I'm running Empire in Flames Warhammer campaign, which I've been running since 2017. So, and I actually in the closing stages. I need to actually close it in the next month or so because of the three permanent players playing it for years. One of them is pregnant and needs to give birth by September. So we need to close it by then, or for the next couple of years she'll be unavailable. So this is a grand finale which I need to cram inside for the next month or so. And I'm running in, which was supposed to be like a very short campaign of what it's called, aquatic version of the Morkborg. Not the Pirate Borg, but one of the short campaigns for the Terrors Beyond the Unknown and something like that. And but it kind of dragged on for months because of the conflicting schedules. So I like Morkborg, and it's kind of evocative, and you can do all sorts of things with it.
Never played that one. Any of those?
Technically, it is OSR, but it really isn't in the tonality of it and the way it approaches. And I know there's some people are criticizing it because it's kind of they took it as a presumptuous kind of thing. But I think it's more like I don't read it in that way. It's kind of it is over the top. Of course it is. I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's Morkborg. The very name says it all. But you can play with it. I mean, you can, if you approach it from this kind of have you guys maybe read the Italian comic books? Like there was this comic book which is I don't have no clue what it's called in Italian, but it's kind of a medieval. The same guys who wrote Alan Ford wrote it. It's kind of a very gritty medieval, but absurd medieval, like a comic book. It ran for 124 issues, and it's kind of a medieval Europe, but very gritty and very like absurdist in approach, very Italian in this way. And Morkborg kind of reminds me of this, and it has this kind of absurdity to it all, and it's kind of so over the top that it's kind of a Ouroboros. It feeds on its own tail, and it's kind of I have no issue with it. I like it.
Yeah. What I found a little bit off-putting about Morkborg was not much content. Basically, it's one of those, at least the main book. It was made as a coffee book table, right? Very artsy in terms of layout and all that, but not much content. And, well, I like setting.
Yeah, but all those things are externalized in a fanzines and like various smaller source books. So, I mean, it's not. I like the games. Sorry, my telephone just
decided.
No, yeah. And I like the games which are easy to pick up and like, okay, we have a schedule like Friday evening. We don't know what we're going to play, and I don't have time to prepare something like proper, and nobody is having time to play like a lengthy campaign. So just improvise something for this. Maybe it's a one shot or short campaign or whatever. But and Morkborg fits in it like perfectly, because not everything needs to be like a 8 years campaign.
Have you tried any of the RPG Pundits games?
I read a couple of them. I haven't tried any of them yet. He's hit and miss. Mm-hmm. Some of his games are pretty good. Some of them I have issues with them. I mean, I read his Occult game, which I have some. Essentially, it's the worst crime you can have. It's boring.
Invisible.
To be honest. Yeah. And some of his other games are much better. Like what he did with Mythic India. This is really good. I think it was written for the 3rd edition D&D, if I remember correctly, which is quite good. And but I think that the problem with him is that he overproduces. And when you're doing it for a living, you constantly have to, output so many things, and it becomes a chore. And I guess you're just, pumping out more content, and it shows. I think it shows, and also I haven't read yet. I actually plan to buy it. This Polish, what's called the Ring, the Fire something.
Yes.
The Polish medieval game. Baptism of Fire. Yes, correctly. I really want to have this book, so I will not comment on it previously. But I've spoken to some Poles I know, and they're having some comments about historical accuracy. Now, he would probably defend himself that it's historically inspired and like not really like exact history, but I guess it kind of depends on which kind of approach you want to take. Nothing wrong with having fantastical approach to history. I mean, it's perfectly fine, especially if you take an approach that you're investing yourself into actual mythologies of the era you're describing. This is the best way to go, the only way to go, essentially. But you have to be fully respectful of the era in a sense that you don't really make mistakes, and that you really have to, if historical reality doesn't fit of the era you chose to write about, if it doesn't fit the rule sets, change the rule sets, not the other way around. And I think that many RPG writers are doing it from the wrong perspective, from the wrong side of it.
There aren't many actual historical games, right? I don't know. Maybe I don't know them, but I haven't found many historical games that are actually historical, not just inspired by something.
Historically accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
There are some. I mean, what was the Spanish game called? Yes, exactly. And it looks pretty good to me. Then again, I'm a cultural outsider. I would be probably much more picky if I was from the Iberia. There are some good historical games, but they mostly lean into actual history. Some are more inspired, and it is fine too. I mean, I have no issues with this. I'm actually planning on running it historical ancient Rome campaign for quite a while now, and Italians made a pretty good RPG about it, which I'll probably use as a rule set. The one thing which is there are several small rule sets. There is one, I think it's Slovak one, which is like just a second. I will probably find someplace and recommend it, which is quite interesting. And what I think that many people who write them from their own cultural perspectives do tend to make mistakes of trying to customize them for the foreign audience. Mm-hmm. And it's like I've seen some Turkish guys who made their own like a historical influenced version of D&D 5th edition, which is not really historical. It's fantasy, which is set in broadly historical era of the 13th century Anatolia, and like it has various fantastic elements to it, but it's not really. It's kind of a intrusion into a historical setting, precisely because many of those fantastic elements you see them ported from D&D, mm-hmm. or just flat out invented. They don't belong to the actual like cultural framework of the era. And again, I have a beef with this approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I think people tend to do that usually when doing those historical games. They adapt some stuff, and usually they import some, especially if it's OSR, they will import it from D&D, which is the main source. Yeah.
I mean, I get the imperative that they want to make it more approachable to the general TTRPG public, and that they want to sell those books, and like I get all this, but you know, I still have issue with this kind of attitude.
Okay, I think it's time to change the subject to movies, because it's something that we usually talk about. I don't know much about Serbian cinema. Obviously, I know a couple of directors. One of them is pretty famous, like Kusturica, of course.
Yes.
But well, I'm sure you know more about it than us. So, any recommendations?
Yeah, various ones, but the thing is that I mean, I could write you. I think I actually did write you about 30 movies to recommend you from the Yugoslav and Serbian. The thing is that the way socialist Yugoslavia was a socialist country, like a real socialism, and before somebody jumps in and say it was communist, no, it wasn't communist. It was like we actually learned this in school. There is a difference between communism and socialism. Like a socialism is the first stage to employ the communism, which is supposed to be like a emanation of the utopia in reality. But that aside, theoretical notions, Yugoslavia, because of this historical circumstances of being somewhere in between, and Tito having a beef with Stalin and all this thing, opened up for the Western culture. So it was kind of a curious mix in that it was culture which was, as the time progressed, thoroughly westernized by the Western popular culture. And at the same time, political framework and economic framework was a socialist one. So it's kind of a very curious mix. And there's actually one good movie which kind of deals with this. It's actually called In Between. And I guess it also fits in a much broader historical narrative about how we understand ourselves, and that we are east to the west and west to the east. So we're kind of a transitional area, and this kind of you're conversant in various both Eastern and Western cultural things, so you can kind of understand them very well. You can implement them, but again, you're always on a borderlines, and borderlines create their own tensions to the extent. This also translated into movies. Movies on one hand, some of our best directors, including Kusturica, they actually got educated at Czechoslovakian movie schools, which were probably the best in Europe in those era. But they were very high culture ones. They're doing it from the proper cultural framework. You need to really be grounded in everything from literature to various visual arts and everything, and they were very self-conscious about all this. On the other hand, we also had various pop cultural slops in 1960s. We influenced again mostly by Italian cinema and these things. Then again, we had I wouldn't call it. There was this kind of a whole movement about the partisan movies dealing with the Second World War, and they were part of the great narrative of the socialist revolution and fight against fascism in Yugoslavia of the war, which served to legitimize the narrative about Communist Party, how it came to power, which again created a backlash to the extent, and so there were some directors who kind of approached from a subversive direction, and they painted a very different picture of the war and everything, which were very much more darker and much more psychologically complex. No, many of those movies were bunkered. They were not allowed to be to be played. Some of them did, and some of those careers suffered because of it. But interesting enough, one of our best directors called Georgi Kadevic, he started in this kind of a career, and he was essentially banished from the cinema.
Rose.
Let's see if it's in frozen.
Still, he was so what he did, he went to shoot movies for television, and he made a couple of horror movies for the television, which were essentially unknown genre before that in Yugoslavia, because horror was being understood as something which was not cultured enough. It was like a popular culture, which is unbecoming of the proper movie director to be invested in. So he actually made the movie called Leptirica, which is based on the folkloric vampiric elements, which I think it was explicitly mentioned that it kind of to the extent influenced the latest Eggers movie about his retelling of the Count Dracula movies. So there are kind of these strains of cultural influences going back and forth in all this. And after the 1990s, which was kind of a tremendous cultural breakdown on all levels, including the cinema, it's kind of a bizarre. It wasn't just about money, the sanctions wars and all these things. It's like you have a good movie directors getting retarded almost. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's difficult to approach it from the rational standpoint. What is happening to people? Because people can always find different ways to tell good stories, and even if you don't have the material means, you can improvise something and whatnot. It's like the whole generation of movie makers just collapsed in itself, and they lost their spark, and which is quite curious. And then in 2000s, there has been slow, but this was again mostly commercially based, various different projects. You've probably heard about the Serbian movie, which is a horror movie.
I've watched that one.
And the Serbian movie is actually it is a exploitation horror movie, but it's also kind of written as a paradigm about social reality, about powers that be, and it's kind of a cultish in TTRPG terms in this regard. But it's not a great movie. It's kind of a way too over the top for my taste. Again, I like more subtlety than that. And there are some other movies which I don't think that they're translated to English, so it's pointless to recommend them. And interestingly enough, there has been a genre of TV series which kind of gained quality in the last 10 years or so. Some of which are dealing with more obscure stuff like conspiracy theories about international organizations which groom the children from the wartime workplaces to become telepathic killers and things like that. Which actually, when I say it this way, it sounds sloppy, but it's not really that bad. Some with folkloric horror elements and like. Especially the genre which is popular here is the criminal, like a genre which kind of interprets the reality of not just the Serbia, the Balkans in itself, because the Balkans is almost like a major business opportunity in the Balkans, and everybody collaborates with each other, across the area. So it's kind of a you have people bringing drugs from South America to Montenegro. From Montenegro, they got distributed through Serbia and Croatia. Then you have different strains from Bulgaria and Turkey and all these things. So everything is interconnected here.
So can we find any of that somewhere?
Not very on streaming platforms, and I can make you a short list of recommendations. So I don't know where you can find them, but I guess on the.
As long as they have English subtitles.
Yeah, obviously that's the problem.
Yeah.
In the original, it would be.
The thing is that especially the series, movies not so much, because the movie making has a different dynamics to it. They kind of nowadays serve as a kind of a vehicle for explanation of our own social reality to ourselves. And it's, as one would expect, pretty bleak. But there is always like a bleak humor being involved to the extent to it, because it's kind of a Balkan thing to laugh at your own woes.
What about mainstream cinema? Have you watched anything good lately? Cinema or TV? Both things.
Depends on what you mean by mainstream. I actually I watched recently one of those offshoots from the Anne Rice's Talamask, which was surprisingly good. It's like a miniseries of only one season.
Oh, I didn't know there were more. I know there were the Vampire Chronicles and all that, but I didn't know they were making. But I guess they're being successful enough. They're making tons of spin-offs.
Yeah, this is actually I think it's based on one of her novels, later novels, and this miniseries is actually surprisingly good. I can fully recommend it. It's more like how to put it, Knights Black Agents TTRPG, and it kind of has this spy versus spy only with vampires, and it's actually very good. And you mentioned the Vampire Chronicles, which is not nearly as good.
Yeah.
I started watching this, and it's kind of it's not terribly bad, but it's kind of you should just leave the original, the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really actually one of those people who don't watch the movies in most cases when they show up. I usually tend to watch them 2, 5, 10 years after they come up. They have a backlog.
Yeah, well, lately we only watch things that are recommended, because usually
If there are new things, yes.
To waste time watching stuff that sucks, better wait until someone says, well, this is really good. And then
we watch it, okay, it's not bad. Most of the times you don't say, yeah, it's really good. Like, yeah, we can see it without turning the television off.
Yeah. Especially American stuff.
Yes, yes, especially.
No, I can fully recommend Talamasca, and I think it has some low rating on IMDb for some reason. But ignore the rating and just watch
Well,
it.
if
It's
if it
very
has
good.
a low rating, it may be that
the
it's
critics
not
rating
that bad.
being low usually is a good sign,
Yeah.
especially nowadays.
Yeah, there's a lot of good horror movies coming out last few years, especially European ones, and they're all from all over the place. And I mean, I cannot really recommend any particular because it would be a disservice to others. But for people who are following this, I mean, they probably know what I'm getting at. So, folkloric horror movies are the big thing in the last 5 or 6 years, and there are some flops there too, but there are some good ones also, and you can see different cultural approaches to them, and really, even if it's not a great movie, and it's still interesting to see how they are taking approach to interpret their own local reality.
Yeah, well, we never had a problem with bad movies. Our problem is not if the movie is a good one or bad. We love bad movies, of course. We love all that 1970s Italian
Yes,
trash.
in those Italian, exactly. All those Italian flop.
But
Not all. Some are really, really bad, but sometimes we still watch them.
sometimes
Not all.
yes,
Sometimes it's like, no, we cannot
some
watch
are
this.
so badly made that they are almost unwatchable. But lately the problem is movies lecturing you, and no, not that. That's
Yeah.
not.
And they're also badly made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both things, badly made and lecturing you. That's not acceptable.
This is mostly American phenomena again.
Mhm.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
the British do the same.
I think that they do it in a more subtle way than Americans. Americans are too preachy.
Maybe.
And British just approach this by a layout, and you get stuck into it, and then you are unconsciously trying to starting to process all these things. But Americans are really they need to nail into you the message. So in case you're stupid and you don't understand what's being transmitted. So
It's very obvious too, but that's also an American thing. They don't understand subtlety, and we can have our American friends complaining in the comments, but it's true. Americans have a problem with subtlety most of the time. Yes.
With subtlety, with the irony.
Yes, sarcasm, irony. No, we don't get it.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, in their culture, it's kind of I guess it's because of such a huge cultural diversities which need to be molded into the same boiling pot. Anything which is kind of which could be interpreted the wrong way is automatically seen as dangerous and subversive, and this, I mean, I couldn't live in America, definitely. I mean, not my cultural space. Although, I mean, a lot of Americans are very good people, but they like this kind of I won't call it maybe self-reflection, but they're too constrained culturally, to properly communicate with each other, and then again with everybody else from this standpoint. So this is I remember, maybe it was 10, 15 years ago, I read about this write-up. Somebody was running at some convention in America a game about I think it was historical horror game, maybe some Call of Cthulhu or something like that, which was happening in the cowboy, let's say 1870s era. And the whole thing just fell apart when one of the players was kind of creating a Negro character. And okay, you could find ways to fit him in. But when NPCs were addressing him in-game as nigger, it just fell apart. And okay, but this is historically accurate way how people would address you if you were like a Negro in 1870s America. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, it's a game. It's in-game world. It's not like somebody is calling you out in real world. So I think that Americans are so sensitive to this kind of a differentiation between what is imaginary and what is, and they're trying to rewrite retroactively history.
Yes. Yes,
in this
they
regard.
don't want
That is happening in
the
role-playing
historical.
games,
They don't
also
accept
in
historical
games.
context. Yes.
But, I've noticed that in many role-playing games, the settings have been changed to accommodate modern-day sensibilities into historical settings. Even Call of Cthulhu, they are using pronouns, I think. Not for players, for the characters, they are using pronouns in game. Pronouns, I mean weird pronouns like they, them, and whatever. Zir, zix, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think it's a short-sighted. I mean, and it's kind of reminds me to the extent. So I'm not like drawing direct lines, but it just reminds me to the way Soviet Union kind of approached its cultural issues. I mean, it's kind of if you have like an issue with, I don't know, let's say racism, and I don't really think that racism is the major social issue in America. And it's much less of an issue than many other things are, looking from the outside. But let's say you approach it as an issue. How the hell are you going to explore it, and how are you going to deal with it if you don't confront it as it was historically? I mean, you cannot just put your head in the sand and just, wishing it all away, because, it doesn't work that way. And Americans do like to pretend too much about the way things are and like how they were. I mean, Turks have been ruling Balkans for, centuries here. And for example, they were calling all the Christians here Raya, which means like a kind of it's not exclusive for infidels, but it kind of have this derogative undertone. I mean, if I was playing historical TTRPG set in Turkish days, of course I would use Raya in game. What's the problematic with this?
Well, yeah, I guess for us Europeans, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I have a thing, for example, when we play, I don't like playing men. I prefer to play women. And even worse is whenever a man tends to play a woman, it's always he's playing his version of a woman. It's always silly. So I also always prefer to play. But sometimes when we're playing an historical game, I'm not going to play, and our games, in spite of everything, are more or less historical accurate. If I want to play a woman, I need to play a character that makes sense in the setting. I'm not going to play, and sometimes I end up not doing enough because
of those options: a nun or a hooker. That's usually
or a rich lady, something like that. Exactly. But sometimes then I have some games that I ended up not doing a lot. And I was telling me, now we're going to go to, I'm not going to fight, I'm a woman, I'm a man. So I want to stand aside. And I was like, okay, I need to start playing men on these things, because if not, it's getting boring, because I'm not going to start recreate, because it annoys me. I mean, it doesn't make sense on that setting to have a character that is like that.
No, I mean, men playing women is just cringy.
Yeah, usually.
And this is like it's kind of this is an imaginative space and people can play whatever they like and whatever races, sexes, whatever. I mean, I have no principal issue with this, but the way it functions in reality, yeah, not really.
Yeah.
And as for sexual thing, sex thing, it's kind of there have been extraordinary women throughout history who have done extraordinary things. And you can play one of those women who have broken the social norms of their era. But there needs to be understanding that this particular character is exceptional. Mm-hmm. He's not a normative one. He is not a representative of the things which they are. And it will always be confronted with this throughout the games, because they will be maybe accepted, but always as an exceptional character, which puts a chip on their shoulder. So
exactly, they cannot be, and the people in the setting should comment on the fact that you are a woman and should not treat you well because of that. Yes, they should be machist. They were at the time. So now everybody's going to say, oh, you're a woman, we're going to treat you like, if it's historical accurate, it has to be like that. Was it a computer game that you played Conquistadors and you could play a female conquistador?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. But that was not really a thing, right? And then it wasn't just some woman that was going, no, she was really a conquistador. She was wearing the helmet and all that. So, I think it was kind of popular, that game, at the time. That's why I played it, not for long. Just until I noticed, oh, okay, there are women in the Spanish army now. Okay, no, it's not that.
No. I mean, you could play a nun. You could play somebody's daughter who is traveling to meet her father, who is a conquistador
There
or
were
whatever.
characters like that, yes, and up to that, okay, that's fine. But then there were also the ones that were adventurers, basically, which works fine in a fantasy setting. But if you are calling them conquistadors, not really.
And this is one of those things which are kind of spilling over between. And again, I really hate to like fall back into this whole cultural notion, but there is this thing that because American culture is kind of it's mythological. It's because they lack actual historicity. I mean, they're not lacking it exists, but it's kind of not well developed, and it's kind of limited in time space. So the whole American dream is a dream. It's mythology which has been invented, and they took it that since it is so, that the whole approach to history is also kind of a dream, and anything goes, and it also all fits its ideological purpose of the day or whatever. And I think it's a violence towards actual history. I think it's I mean, disrespectful is a stupid word, but kind of I mean, we all see what Nolan is being doing with the Odyssey right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not watching this. I'm not even going to watch this on a pirated version. I will not give my time to it. Like fuck off.
I would only watch it in a pirated version if it's bad enough to have a laugh. Like I watched one battle after another, and it was cringy as fuck.
It was, yeah. I mean, no, a lot of people are like hyped up about this movie, but I think it also got boring after a while.
I just saw a bit because then he tried to force me to watch it, and I was like, "No, this is boring and stupid." I was like, "Why am I watching this now? You already watched it, so no."
I laughed a bit with it, and some of those other woke movies that were made lately.
I don't understand. Was there supposed to be a comedy making fun of the? Yes, but the thing is this? Do people look at this and watch that movie and they think that it makes that people look good? Because for me, they're making fun of themselves, but they're not. So for me, it was very, very, very strange.
Ridiculous. All of it feels ridiculous.
It was too long, and it had some nice bits and pieces. It was funny at times, but kind of it could all fit in an hour and a half, not 2.5, 3 hours.
Was that what, Paul Thomas Anderson?
Not sure.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if it was that.
And there are some scenes which just doesn't make any sense, and they're superfluous. And if it was just I don't know, revenge fantasy or something, okay, I could buy it. But it's kind of pretentious to the extent.
Yeah, lately all these woke movies that are also pretentious, that doesn't work. The Odyssey is going to be another one, of course. I think Nolan has always been pretentious. I never liked these movies.
Yeah,
never been a fan.
His early movies were interesting, but as his fame grew and the more money he has been.
Sorry, I have a problem because I always confuse him with Aronofsky. So I always need to check but I like Aronofsky better. That's why I always have to check what did actually I'm checking Nolan did. Yes, Interstellar was boring, not bad but boring. Memento, I liked it at the time. It was.
I also liked it at the time.
I hated Inception. Everybody said that Inception was amazing, and it was the movie that he dreamt of doing. And I went to watch it. Like, is this the movie that he was dreaming of doing? Damn, this is incredibly boring. But when I say that I think Christopher Nolan is overrated, some people look at me, not everybody, which is good, but some people look at me as if I'm strange. but that's okay.
I don't know why you confuse Nolan.
I don't know why. It's my head.
I was checking what could have been made that.
Nothing. It's my. I don't know. It's my.
What else?
I think it's maybe because of Memento that I thought that it was from Aronofsky, and from that moment on, I started confusing them.
Okay. Okay. Well, any other subject that we should like to talk about?
I don't know if Andres is frozen.
I think it's
or
frozen.
Yes, it's frozen. Yes.
It's frozen.
No, I thought it was silent, but now it's frozen. Yes.
Okay, let's wait a bit. If it unfroze, no, it didn't unfroze.
Estás a ouvir?
Two.
Okay. I'm not seeing myself in the call anymore, just in a small. So I was wondering what had happened. Could be something with the free version, maybe.
I don't know.
But you're still hearing me, then that's okay. Are you going to cut these beats, or do you want me to continue to say stupid things about Nolan and the Odyssey? Because I can.
I don't know.
I just saw. I just saw Noah. I think it was this morning. I didn't post it I was going to post it in Discord, but then I started working. Actually, we have to do things today. But it was the pictures of Elliot Page with her father's suit.
Oh yeah, nice. That nice brown suit.
Yeah. I mean, why don't they give her a tailored suit? Are they supposed to making fun of her on purpose?
Maybe she.
Don't they sell suits? I know, but they probably don't sell suits in the children area. But if she's a Hollywood actress, maybe they could.
That's not. That should not be. I'm almost certain it's not a tailored suit. She probably bought it as it is, and she didn't.
Yeah, it's a big man. She wanted to put the big man pants.
Maybe she found that it would look nice like that.
Yes.
It seems that my internet broke for a minute or two.
Yeah. We thought you were silent, and then you're like, oh no,
a while ago you froze, but then you unfroze and proceeded. But this time, yeah, it really fell. Okay, so I was asking if there's something else that you would like to talk about. We've been here for 1 hour and 30, so if there's something else you want to add.
I'm interested into how is the role-playing scene in Portugal.
Oh, it's depressing.
Extremely depressing. Mostly progressives. I know about 3 or 4 people that are not. I'm sure there are many more that are.
There are some people that play from the old times that are still, not
I'm
progressive.
Sure there are normies and common people playing, but the ones that play in an organized fashion, the ones who organize the conventions and those meetings, monthly meetings and all that, they are all extreme woke.
And they're not really playing role-playing games. They're playing D&D or story games.
Yeah. The fashionable people, they all play story games, of course.
Or D&D because of Critical Role.
Or D&D because of those are the younger ones. The younger ones play D&D because Critical Role made it famous, and there are obviously a few people trying to impersonate Critical Role, obviously without any success. We even there's even a group of Portuguese actors, actors, that made an attempt to do something like that, but no one was watching. I think it was during COVID. But yeah, it's very depressing. So Portugal is a small country, probably a little bit bigger than Serbia, but not that much. About 11 million people. And role-playing games were never really a thing here. I started in the late 80s, because at that time there was an attempt to do something. They translated the red box, the D&D red box to Portuguese, but probably it didn't sell as well as they were expecting, and it was the only thing that was ever translated to Portuguese, European Portuguese. Of course, the Brazilians translate lots of stuff, but here that never. And then there's always the problem that we would never read a role-playing game translated into Brazilian Portuguese, and the Brazilians would never read anything translated into European Portuguese. It's the same language, we can understand it.
But there are too many differences in grammar and vocabulary.
The way the phrases are constructed and the words they use.
I read some books in college that were Brazilian version, physics books, and it was really strange. I couldn't understand it, but my brain keeps saying, this is wrong, this is not. I couldn't focus on the theory because the grammar was making me...
We can understand everything because we have been watching their soap operas since the 80s or the 70s.
And to their music.
So we are very familiar with the words and the way they talk and the pronunciation and all that. But reading a book is a little bit different. I always prefer to read it in English or in Portuguese, European Portuguese. So it didn't cross over as well.
And for them, it's harder to understand it anyway.
Yeah, I don't understand it as well. Because the ones living in Portugal, of course, they have to learn it. They have to learn it. But the ones in Brazil that aren't used to talking to Portuguese people, they have issues understanding this.
Yeah, sometimes when languages are almost the same or similar, it's even more difficult than to learn an entire new language, because here you have to unlearn what you think you know to kind of properly learn it.
Yeah, that's with Spanish. Yes.
Yeah. Everybody in Portugal believes they can speak Spanish, but actually they can't. They pretend to.
Yeah.
They pretend to. I'm sure there's some examples in Eastern European countries that the languages are kind of similar, but not really the same. And we have to speak Spanish.
There's a linguistic blend because the languages are like kind of mostly separated relatively recently in like last few centuries, and they influenced one another with lexicon and all this thing. So it's kind of sometimes you can almost understand what, I don't know, Romanians are speaking, because they still maintain a lot of Slavic loan words in their language, although it's nominally a Roman one. But it's not the same thing. And although in some cases, like Serbians and Serbo-Croatians and Bulgarians, it's almost the same language, with some minor differences, but maybe to the extent between you guys and Brazilians, maybe it's kind of that level of difference, but it's minor.
Yeah, in this case, it's minor. Of course, the pronunciation is entirely different. If you hear a Portuguese speaker, the
language is the same. The Brazilian Portuguese is the same language.
When they are listening to us speaking Portuguese, it sounds like Russian. Because of the way we speak and the tone and all that, it sounds so. You can see, and Brazilians obviously they don't think they sound like Russians. Not at all. They sound probably like Spanish. It's a more melodic way of speaking, even though the language is the same. They speak in a very different way, but the language is the same.
There was this meme thing here that when the foreign companies started employing people from the Balkans in, let's say, late 1990s, early 2000s, massively, people started playing these games to put in their resumes that they speak 5 or 6 different languages, which is all the same language. Just, Serbian, Croatian, Montenegrin, or whatever, It sounds impressive. Oh, 6 languages. It's just the same one.
So I think I heard someone say that in my I work in an international company, so I think there was a girl one that was saying, I speak all this, but she was like, but that was really, but it's actually all the same language.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to ask you, are there any news about the Wretched New Flesh? Because this is my favorite game of yours.
You mean the old version or the new version?
Whichever version.
Okay, I'll pick up the book and we'll see. This is the newest version.
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah.
Okay, so no, there won't be anything else. I'm finished with this one. It will be the last thing, I think. Well, I can promise that, but yeah, I think I'm satisfied with this one. I prefer these rules to the wretched ones, and so you bought it in paper format or in digital?
I have the old version in paper. I think I have this one in, or do I have both of them? I'm not really sure. My books are in 2 or 3 different locations, so I'm not really sure what I have in which version and what is where. I always have to kind of to go and check in different locations.
Well, I can say if it's not in digital format, I can send you the digital format because this one was updated.
I'm positive. I'm positive I have it in digital format because I bought the whole package at one point, but I'm not too sure about paper. Maybe I do have. I'll check it tomorrow.
Okay, if you, I was just saying because the first version had some AI in it, and the second one has yeah, well, but that's not just I made some other changes.
No, I really liked what you did with the setting. I mean, it's evocative, it's original, and it rhymes with the kind of cultural references like I kind of liked. So it's kind of really my favorite of your output.
It's my favorite as well. Of course,
it's more unique.
We probably are in the minority in here. It didn't sell that much. I don't know if I'm going to do something else for New Flash. I planned to do some more stuff. Maybe I'll end up. Well, there's that a couple of stuff that were published for Ratchet, and I haven't yet adapted them. There's the Portuguese source book where Lisbon is a gambling city. Eventually,
yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
I will make that into the new rules, the new system. There were other plans. Maybe sometimes in the future I will pick it up again. I had planned to do something in the US, and maybe a world book, but that's probably not going to happen because I've already in this version I've added some more information about other places in the world. So maybe the US source book would be something that somebody might pick up, but I'll probably have to make it a full game with summarized rules because source books don't sell. There's always that source books don't sell. I mean, big companies, yeah, they can sell the source books, but small publishers like us, scenarios sometimes, yeah, says they sell not that much, but source books they are a little more expensive, and they are source books. So it's
interesting how it works in reverse to the big companies, which are not really making money on basic ones, but only various sources. Yeah.
Yeah, probably for them it's different, but I have noticed that it's not just for us. Independent publishers always have that problem. The game usually sells more than anything else, and source books are probably the ones that sell less, even less than adventures. People will buy adventures, especially in digital format. They used it, and then they don't even need to buy the physical stuff. Just you use it, and then it's the last time you look at it. But source books, they never, even when we're selling better, source books will always the ones. That's why we haven't published many. I don't know what, 10 maybe, probably not more than that. In 100 books that we made, probably about.
No, I'm actually curious how did you manage to do this amount of output in a relatively short amount of time? I mean, you must have been working your ass off day and night for the last couple of years.
During the first 3 years, I didn't have vacations, and I was working on weekends, and I was working, I don't know how many,
all the time.
yeah, I don't know how many hours a day, but many hours a day. Of course, now I'm not doing it anymore. It would be feasible, and also why? Because we are not selling that much. So, but during those days, I was really working a lot, and also some of the material I had written it before, so it was translated, it was adapted. And in the first 3 years, I also had some more contributions, people that were writing stuff for us. Sometimes
Like me.
to be, yes, like you, sometimes to be included in the books, sometimes to be published. So, for example, there was that superhero game, so street level superheroes game.
I don't remember that one.
Vigilantes.
I almost didn't write anything for that one. The only thing I wrote half the core book, but all the books that came after it, they were not written by me. There was obviously Man, that wasn't mine. There was Ratchet Shambara, that was also written by someone else. Sylvia did a bunch of scenarios for Epoch and for New Flash, Bastards and Darker. So not everything was done by me, except the layouts. The layouts, I did everything. I've spent probably more time doing layouts than actually writing. There were so many books. I don't know. I don't even know, because there were the first editions, the second editions, and then some remakes that I've done, fixing the first layouts that were kind of rubbish. I've done so many that I've improved a lot since the beginning. So I don't even know how many layouts I did.
I think that this kind of recycling to different editions in this limited amount of space was like a self-defeating to the sort.
Maybe
even if the one edition was like not good enough, you should probably stick with it for a while, because it confuses people. I know when I'm buying your stuff, I hear, okay, what is this written for? And like I have to go and check it each time, and like I'm in the know more or less. But people who are completely outsiders, they probably got confused.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I know that happened, but well, I don't know. I wanted to perfect the original ones into something better, and well, now I'm not doing it anymore. Just not that much, at least. The new versions, and I've some of the new versions were free for people who had purchased the Ratchet ones. So it was a freebie, basically. And I've started working much less. There are some plans for new things. The next thing I'm going to do is almost new. It's Armageddon, which was published, but only half of it. It was supposed to have been a 2-book game. Now I'm going to do the whole thing. And then there are some other plans, but I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, it's not about that. It's just I really don't know what will be next, because it's a matter.
You don't know what you're gonna feel like doing also.
Yeah, right now it's a matter of feeling like doing it or not, because sales are so bad that it's not about money anymore. It's about, do I want to do this or don't? So, and it changes with next month. Maybe I will be thinking about something, and then I'll decide to do it. So I cannot plan for.
Look at it from a different direction. I mean, I know it's financially difficult, but at the same time, you really should do only things that you love. And it kind of always seeps into your work. And, don't I fully feel for the situation which you're in, but I don't know. Maybe it's better this way, to the extent, instead of just pumping out, the ungodly amount of material. With most of it is very good, but maybe you should really put just attention and time into what you really want to
the only problem with this is that if there aren't enough people interested, I will lose interest as well. I've noticed that in myself. I'm losing interest because I'm not going to do this for myself only. Because I don't need it. Right now, I have enough games to keep playing forever, I guess. So I need to have some kind of motivation to do this, so someone will pick it up. Not in a monetary way. If I sell 10 or 20 items, okay, that's fine. But if I don't even sell those 10 or 20 items, it feels like,
nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. So let's see how things go now, because some of the stuff, sometimes it takes some time until it picks up. So having some
how did your scenarios, which were inspired by David Lynch and such, went?
Sorry,
was there interest in them? Your scenarios, what is St. Cloud, right?
Yeah.
The David Lynch inspired ones. How did they go?
Those ones did very well, because it was in the beginning. Up to last year, everything was doing fine. Something happened there. I don't know. I have some theories, but not entirely sure about that. I know some of it was cancel culture, not the woke cancel culture. Other, for example, using AI. That was a problem. I know that we were targeted by some people. There were some internal fighting in the OSR space, and though we were not really taking a major part in that, we were also affected, because we had some. For example, we were publishing the Pundit files, and we were friends with him, and we are still. There were some problems there with some of his enemies. We have inherited enemies of several people. So that has been also a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to come to think of it that such a niche within a niche, such as in OSR, is like creating such a...
there are lots of divisions in the OSR. Actually, it's small, right? It's small, but there are many divisions, and I'm not even saying, because there's a woke OSR, a leftist progressive OSR, but that's completely out of the picture. I don't talk to them. We are separated. But even in the non-progressive OSR, the based OSR, I can call it that, there are divisions. There are people that hate each other for this or for that. So it's RPG people are complicated.
Yeah, on the other hand, I think that some people are also playing the riff on this, and they are like self-promoting precisely through this kind of conflict.
Yeah, exactly.
Which especially I get it. Sorry?
The YouTubers are the most aggressive in that way. They need views, so they don't care about anything else. They just start fights, and they pick a fight, and then they go to another fight.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of creates unfavorable environment for everybody, and it kind of I mean, in general, when dealing with people, you shouldn't behave that way. It's kind of a unsocial behavior, and I mean, I really hate it. But I think for some people, it's just a marketing strategy.
Yeah, definitely. They pick the fights just because that gives them views or likes. But in our case, of course, there's besides all that, there's the problem that we need to grow an audience. Obviously, many people have purchased the first edition or the second edition of whatever, and they don't need anything else. They are finished with that. So we needed new people coming and finding out about New Flash, for example, or Final Frontier or whatever. And it has been extremely hard. There were times when just having a new customer would make a month for me, because the guy would go there, spend $50 buying a few things. Well, that's cool. I'm done. But nowadays, I guess, of course, this is a niche within a niche, as we said, OSR, and then RPGs, and then not fantasy. So a niche within a niche within a niche. We have no fantasy game. We have Savage Swords, but it's not really fantasy. And so we are marketing this for a very small amount of people. We have about 500 subscribers in our mailing list, but when I check the stats, about 5% at most opens the email. So even the people that have purchased something, nowadays they are not really interested in it. So that's...
There is an overproduction of things. It's kind of the whole scene exploded, and the thing is that there's only so much available free time for everybody to read or play books. And I think on one hand, it is a good thing, because it broadens the field of creativity for the genre, for the whole hobby. On the other hand, it does impact you professionally, and like many small publishers. Yeah,
and having this difficulty with marketing. There are always new things coming, and people lose interest in the old ones, and then they don't come back. Maybe they will come back one day. I don't know about that. I haven't been in this business, so to speak, in a long time, so I have no idea. Will they come back? Maybe they will come back in a couple of years. That's possible. Some of the people may have not lost interest. Maybe they just are now interested in something else. Something else new appeared. They are now playing it, running it, and maybe one day they will come back. We'll have to wait.
Yeah, I mean, this is the reason I would strongly recommend you to keep everything available from Lulu, and because you never know. In 10 years' time, I mean, you have people popping up with.
Yeah. I'm not going to. The only things I removed were the first editions, because they were kind of rubbish in terms of layout and illustrations. But all that, and now I'm publishing also on Amazon, so I'll slowly add more stuff to Amazon as well. So
I heard it was pretty complicated to get published on Amazon.
In terms of
legal issues and like a preparation for their own format of printing and everything else, technical aspects.
Kind of boring, yeah. But that's why I'm doing it slowly. Adapting the layouts for Amazon is it's a bit different than Lulu, and takes some time.
Yeah. By the way, Lulu printing is noticeably better than the drive-through.
Yeah, Lulu is much better. I haven't seen any books printed on drive-through for a long time, but I remember, at least in the past, they were much better. And I think it also depends on the printers, because sometimes the quality is much better. Sometimes for some reason, sometimes they print the books, the Lulu books. Sometimes they are printed even though you are paying for a what's it called? So there's the premium color, there's the common, and sometimes you order the common one and they print it in premium. I don't know why. Sometimes it happens. I think it's luck. It's the printer itself. Perhaps they make a mistake. Whatever. I don't know. But in that case, it's even better, because the premium color is much better.
Yeah. I mean, I really cannot recommend Lulu enough. I mean, especially compared to some other online publishers. Yeah.
For some reason, apparently they don't promote themselves as much to role players. You don't find that many role-playing games there. There are many, but not nearly as many as in drive-thru. And obviously, people do not go to Lulu the same way they go to drive-thru. Usually, people who go shopping at Lulu, they know what they are looking for. They go purchase
Yeah.
this and that.
Maybe they think the market is run by draft too, and it makes no
Yeah,
point in
probably.
them trying to.
Maybe it makes no sense to explore that market. They already have novels and poetry books and all that. That's probably their. I'm sure that's their major business. Even though they also publish stuff individually. So if you want to publish something there, or not publish, print it. Just print it, not publish. You can also do that. So maybe that's also a good business for them. People who want to give a book to friends, just and not have it sold to customers. So that's probably part of their main business as well.
Yeah. Anyway, you just keep it online over there because I'm having some of the books I plan to buy from you at some point in the future. So I want them available in print.
I'm not giving up unless unless something catastrophic happens.
Even if you stop doing things that you don't feel like it, those things are
Yeah,
still
they
going
will
to
be
be
there.
there.
I will not retire the books. I have slowed down. I will keep working slower. I haven't given up yet, and I would only give possibly, of course, if no one buys anything, I'll probably just okay, never mind. But I'm not going to retire the games. They will be there if you decide to buy them. You or anyone else, of course. Later, they will be there. Okay.
Okay, so I'll be wrapping up this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thanks for coming. I really hope this has recorded.
Yes, everything.
Well,
yes.
I tested it before, so I'm
Yes, it did.
assuming it did. So let's cross your fingers. And again, thanks for coming, and see you around.
Thanks for inviting me.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.